Daled of the Mimer. That's page 4 of the copies, or no, page 5 of the copies, page Yud. And we were explaining about the neshamas versus malachim. That neshamas are called mahalchim; they're called traveling. They are on the move the whole time because they have a true halicha. They have the true type of traveling, as opposed to the malachim. They are limited. They were created in a very limited type of fashion, in a way of gvul, and because they were created in a way of gvul, therefore their avoida is didavahagbola, and therefore they're called oimdim. They're called standing still. They're not considered that they're rising up high. Then we ask that similarly, neshamas are also limited. They come from the spheres, they come from the kalim of the spheres, and they're nivdal from the kalim. Even the sham, but then we said that because they are neshamas d'atzilus, both there are specific neshamas that are known as neshamas d'atzilus, and then there are all those that are in the level of even those that are not neshamas d'atzilus, but they descend from atzilus, as it says in the shamash nasat b'tahoidehi, that's higher than ata barosa ati yitzarta tanafakta. So this means that really all neshamas have the level of atzilus in it, and atzilus is essentially higher than limitations, and therefore neshamas are in a way of mahalchim. So now he's going to go on and elaborate upon that, more so about how this level of mahalach comes about really, not so much in their root, not so much in their source, because like we said, in their source, there is this level of kalim and the limitations of atzilus and so on. By the way, the distinction we made between malachim and neshamas, malachim have to do primarily with biyah. Neshamas, even neshamas of biyah, start off in atzilus because of what we said, neshamas and nesat b'tahoid. So again, ois daled, line 5, page Yud, sixth page of the copy. Ach ikarayin whom. But the main idea in understanding this difference between the neshamas being mahalchim versus the malachim being considered oimdim, even when the neshamas are in their root in the world of atzilus, they're not in a state situation of a true traveling shari al neshama, because concerning the neshama before descending to this world, it says, I swear by Hashem, the God of Yisrael. It says this, that the Navi said, I swear by the God of Yisrael that I had stood before him. What does it mean? He's swearing by Hashem that he stood above Lamaila as he was a neshama, a madati died. In other words, when this Navi was attesting to his standing before Hashem, he's referring to the time that he was above Lamaila. So it shows that even when he's above Lamaila, he's considered a madati. He's considered standing. Like the statement of the Zohar, called Nishmas and Nishmas have a kaimid b'diyoikna kama malkadisha. Every single neshama would stood in its full image and stature before the Holy King. This idea, kaima, which can mean stood or existed, shalosh and kaima inyan hamida. The word kaima that the Zohar uses is from the word standing, which means that it's something that remains and is solid in a non-progressive way, like we said about the malachim. As opposed to the idea of traveling, that is accomplished specifically through the neshama descending down here below. Over there, the way that when the neshama descends down here below, that's when there's the joining of the neshama with the body. The joining of the neshama and the body is a joining of two opposites, like we mentioned before. that the difference between the way all other creations were made, they were made in the neshama, their nefesh, and their body simultaneously. Even malachim were created that way, but a human being was created on the one hand, offer min hadoma, and on the other hand, vayipach ba'abav nishmas chaim, he blew into him a soul of life. So you have the two extremes of doimim and medaber joined together. My chibur, my fear, my kabbalah, like for example, the joining of the giver and the taker, that is also two opposites. The mashpia is the opposite of being a makabel. Iser bezoy, like it's brought down the zohar, shechibar neshama v'agufu k'may chibar zachar nekeva. That the joining of the neshama and the body is like the joining of male and female. The idea of mashpia makabel. Through the joining of two opposites, when you have that type of union of two opposites, nimshach inyan shalamaylam mikol seder ishtalshus. There is brought down the idea that's beyond seder ishtalshus. Like it says in the pasuk Zohar and Akeva, by Yivarach Isa. It says about Adam Achava, it says he created a male and female, and only then was the bracha. Beforehand, when he only created Adam alone, there was no bracha. When there was male and female, that all of a sudden was a reason for a bracha, because when you have the union of two opposites, that expresses in it a hamshacha from a much higher place. It comes down and something that's beyond all measure and boundary. And therefore, because you have that union of the neshama and the body, the union of two opposites, that needs to have this level that's higher than any type of agbola to be able to cause and to be able to make the bridging of the gaps between those two opposites, where you want to have that type of bridging of the gaps. So to do, because you want to bridge the gaps, that's why you have this greater amshach. When the neshama comes down to the gul, the inyan that poil by neshama, this affects the neshama. That should be in a way of traveling. After mitzad atzma, the gambol matzilsi b'chinas amida, though on its own, before it comes down into the body, the way it's in the world of Atzilus even, it's still in the way of standing still. So in other words, as soon as the neshama comes down to the body, since you need to have this awesome power that joins things that are completely opposite, that awesome power is beyond any measure limitation. So you have already this level of halicha. Rev is going to say this level of halicha is not manifest until we work. It's only in the state of potential. Line 24, second paragraph, third paragraph on the page. This power that's beyond limitation, this state of traveling, is only in a state of potential. So it should come out in a way of actuality. It should be in a way that's revealed. So for that, that's through a person's service. And the reason why it's through a person's service is for our benefit, not because Hashem wanted to make it hard on us and say, you know what, let's make you work just for the sake of work. No. Like Hashem wanted by his great kindness, that all matters to come down through the avoid of the person. He didn't want that we should have it free, as we know that it's namad ksufa, it's bread of shame. When we earn it, it's so much greater and higher. But Torah mitzvahs, through the doing of Torah mitzvahs, that's how we bring this down, this infinite, beyond measure type of level, and therefore we become in a way of mahalch. Shakosar Parsha saying, like it says in our Parsha, the Parsha when this Maimer was said was Chokaisa. It says, Im Chokaisa Telechu Gomer, if you will go in my Chukim, the Inyan Ha'alicha, the idea of traveling, Telechu, Nasai de B'chokaisai, comes about through my B'chokaisai. Rashi says on the word Im B'chokaisai Telechu, he defines Im B'chokaisai means Shetiu Amelim B'Torah, that you are toiling in Torah. So first of all, we see the idea of Torah that causes the halicha. And Torah is not something that's done in a vacuum. But Torah is supposed to lead further, in such a way that Torah study is great, that brings to action. So therefore, but and as it's expressed further, that my mitzvahs you will observe and you will do them. Through this, we reach Telechu of the Chukaisai. Through having Torah mitzvahs, we reach a level of halicha, not just in potential, but in actual. Not only. That the neshamas rise up to be on the level of the kelim. Earlier in the Maimer, we said that even though the kelim of Atzilas are elikus, that is because the oir becomes one and is enclosed in the kelim. But the neshamas, we said, are nivdal from the kelim, and therefore they don't have the same quality like the kelim. That is all the way the neshamas are above before Torah mitzvah. Once the neshama comes down here below and does Torah mitzvahs, then the neshamas go up to the level of being on the same level like the kelim. And not only on the same level of the kelim, or even more so, they reach the level of the lights that are enclosed in the vessel. Or it reaches the level of the lights that are beyond the vessels. Not only does it rise up to the kelim and to the lights that are enclosed in the vessels and the lights beyond being closed in the vessels, the malchus to be completely subsumed in the body, meaning the entity of the king, specifically with Hashem's very essence, the infinite. And all of this is accomplished, this union with Hashem's essence, is Torah mitzvahs. It's only through Torah mitzvahs the way it's given down here below. Just like the potential state of traveling that we said. When is it accomplished? Only when the neshama comes down with a physical body in this world that there's nothing beneath it. The same thing, the actualization of it, the actual level of the neshama becoming a traveler, that becomes only through doing mitzvahs here in the physical world. How comes, he says in line 12, this Torah, which is precious and concealed, but loy b'shamayim, the Torah, the way it is, Hashem's greatest treasure, that treasure of Torah, that concealed part of Torah, that amazing thing is not found in the heavens. And Malachim wanted it, and they just said, no, it's not here in the heavens. You're not going to find it there. Rather, let's explain the Tanya Shah Torah, Yardim Madrega, the Torah descended from one level to another level, until it became enclosed in physical matters, in the actual physical letters of ink on parchment. That's where the Torah came down. I believe there's somewhere where the Rebbe explains what the Rebbe says in Tanya about the Torah is likened to water that descends from a high place to a low place. That one of the things about water that descends from the high place to the low place is that it leaves the high place. Meaning it's not there in the high place. You're not going to find the water in the high place. You're going to find it specifically down here. The same thing. This treasure aspect of Torah, this core idea of Torah, this bond with Hashem's essence, will not be found in Olam Yonim because it descended specifically into the physical world, and that is where we can find it bound with Hashem. And how much and how low did it come down? Not just into the physicality of the world, which shows that it's very, very low, but another type of expression of how low the Torah came down is what he says in the parentheses on line 16. Until it became enclosed in matters of different types of complaints and different types of arguments. Reuben says this view, and Shimon says that view. He says, this is mine, this is mine. Somewhere in this discussion, there's something untrue. Meaning that's how far Hashem brought the Torah down to even deal with something that's the antithesis of what godliness is, which is truth. It comes down so low to deal even with untruth. How come? Why did Hashem have the Torah descend so low? Line 18, but they call Shakol and Neshama Ruach v'Nefesh b'Guf Adam. Every neshama, or the lower level of ruach, or even lower, the level of nefesh, that's in the body of a person. Like Alter Rebbe is quoting from Tanya, that every person should be able to comprehend it in its mind and to be able to fulfill the Torah. Now the Rebbe adds, not only by a person being able to learn Torah in the physical world and comprehending it with his physical mind, regardless of his soul levels, even if he's not neshama ruach, he's only nefesh, and therefore through that he becomes now a mahalach, he becomes a traveler. 5 days in nifalgam b'Torah inyan ha'hilulא. Now also in Torah, there's affected the idea of traveling. The Torah as well now becomes a travel. Before Baruch b'Drusha Chassidus, and Ma'ayin HaChacham Sefer HaBor, like this brought down at length. More Chassidus from the two Sfarim called Ma'ayin HaChacham and the Sefer HaBor. David Malka Mashiach Mechaber Torah B'Kadosh Baruch, says David, who is also known as King Mashiach, the anointed king, also referring to his descendant Mashiach, joins Torah with Hashem. In other words, he makes an ascent in Torah that Torah doesn't have on its own. In other words, he brings it to a state of halicha. He brings it up to something so much higher than it is on its own. And David represents Klal Yisrael. This is something that is shared by Klal Yisrael, that Yidden, through learning Torah, make the Torah be a mahal. So, that's why, specifically, through Torah study down here, so it's accomplished, but it says that in Pasuk, in Shir Hashirim, that friends, listen to your voice, let me hear. In Shir Hashirim, it says over there, Hayesheves Beganim, that those neshamas that are sitting in the gardens, meaning one of the explanations that the Mefarshim give, it's talking about the gardens, meaning in the Batik, Mesias of Batim Midrashes, especially they're in the foreign gardens, they're in Golis, and they're sitting and learning Torah. The Malachim, Avedim, that are called Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'chol pamali delay, that Hashem is an entire court. Boim l'shmoel limud ha-Torah kiv'yachim ne'Yisrael l'mata. They come to hear the Torah study from Yidden down here below, and because they're coming to hear, why are they coming to hear the Torah study from down here below? What's the benefit of the Torah study down here below? Because Dafke down here below is where you have the highest level of Torah. Like we said before, it left, like the water left the high place and came down here below. The general idea behind this is that Torah study, the fulfillment of mitzvahs, down here below, through a soul and a body, top of page base. It causes the joining of the level above that corresponds to Mashpia Makabel. We're the whole time talking about the Neshama and the Guf, the Mashpia Makabel, Zocher Nekeva. Ma'uban is also two levels of Shem Yudke Vavke, the way it's a numerical equivalent of Shem Ma'u, Shem Ban, and they're joined together. They are like Mashpia Makabel also. And because of that, they bring down from a higher level than Ma'uban. Just like we said, when there's the Yichud of Zocher Nekeva, and when there's the yichud of the neshama and guf, it brings down a higher level. What's this idea of through Torah and mitzvahs we make a yichud of ma'uban? Yeah, they limit our Torah v'kiyam mitzvahs mevarim nitzoytzi akdusha shenof lamata nitzoytzi ban. Through Torah study and fulfillment of mitzvahs, we refine the sparks of kedusha that fell down here below, the sparks of ban. V'abirur hu aydei shem ma'am. How and what level of godliness, what level of divine energy do we use to refine and elevate those sparks of bond that are immersed and embedded in this world? That's through Shema. That's the idea of Moshe Rabbeinu that said, and we are Ma. We are what? Meaning we are the level of Ma. And because Moshe Rabbeinu, who gave us the Torah, was the level of Ma, was able to do this birurim and elevation of Ban, of the sparks of Ban, and he is our shepherd, since he's the faithful shepherd of every single Yid. So therefore, every single one of us, each one of us has the matter of Moshe Rabbeinu. We have that power of Ma that's invested in us. And therefore, for this reason, through the avoid of a Jewish person in Torah, starting fulfilling of its mitzvahs, there becomes the refinement of the sparks of Ba. Through this comes about the ascent to a level that's higher than Ma'oban, the level of the name of Samach Gimel. Though that this is the level of the crown that his mother carnated. That's the level of Shem Sak. Level of crown is like the level of Keser. The idea of a crown and kingship and being ruling over everything. Rotzen shows that's beyond measure and boundary. That's the idea of travel. So now he explained in Kabbalah terms what are the levels that we are tapping into. Through Torah mitzvah, since we are engaging and making this union with Yimal Ban, we're tapping into this higher revelation of the level of Sad. Any questions before we go on? We're holding line 13, the 8th page of the copies. Now, in the Maimer of the Tzemach Tzedek that we've been referring to over here, now he explains an even higher thing. And he's going to go a little bit into Kabbalah, but the Rebbe is going to analyze this after quoting the Tzemach Tzedek. So now he's going to quote the Tzemach Tzedek for the next entire paragraph, and then he's going to explain. The Maimer, when it brings out an even higher thing than what we've been talking about up till now, writes it in a way of a question and a wonder. This is a quote from the Maimer of the Tzemach Tzedek. But still, we need to examine what it says in the Zohar, and especially in what Rav Moshe Zakuta, the Ramaz's explanation on the Zohar, Pirush Pasuk, the explanation of the Pasuk where it says, Ish ubeisoi ba'u, that it says concerning Noach, that, I'm sorry, not concerning Noach, it says that man and his woman, that's what it means, the household, man and his household came. And from the Zohar and the Ramaz's Pirish on the Zohar, he comes to the conclusion that it's referring also to the Malachim. And the Malachim also have, according to the understanding of the Ramaz in the Zohar, male and female. And it's actually from the Zohar, but the Ramaz takes it further, not just if they're male and female, but if there's male and female, it must serve a purpose. What is the purpose of the male and female? Is the union of both of them. He says, and look into the Pirush of the Ramaz over there, the Shayach Zivug Mamish Malach, that there's actually applicable a real mating and union in Malachim, like there is down here a union of male and female. Imkaid, if so, Shayach Hilulא. The Tzemach Tzedek continues, if you're saying that there's an idea of a union amongst Malachim, just like there's a union of male and female down here, so therefore, what's the result and the purpose of such a union? Giving birth. And the idea of birth, we know, is something that's beyond the limitations It's the idea of the union of male and female. Where is the Vayevarach Oisam express itself? What's the simple meaning of the pasuk that says that when Hashem Zachar Keva Bara Oisam Vayevarach Oisam Malakim, that he brought down the bracha, where's the bracha manifest? The bracha that Hashem benched them is that they should have children. So in other words, children is the idea of the growth in such a type of way that is beyond limitations, that is beyond boundaries. And if so, why the malachim called standing in one place? If they're able to give birth, that's a manifestation of something that's beyond just standing in one place. Then the Tzemach Tzedek goes on to say, if not for the words of Ramesh Zakuta concerning a man and his household, meaning a man and wife, so then we would have interpreted the Zohar to say that what does it mean that in Malachim there is Ish Ubeisli as well, there's male and female. We would have said doesn't mean male and female like the union of a male and female down here, but we're talking about the general idea of Mashpia Makabel, similar to a Rav, this Mashpia Talmud. The same thing we would have said. When it says Ishu Beisa, the Malachim have male and female, it doesn't mamish mean male or female, it means that Mashpia Makabel. Not like the union and mating of a husband and wife. Yet Haramosh Zakuta loy Kosovim. Haramosh Zakuta the Ramaz did not write them. He compared it to a husband and wife. Tzemach Tzedek goes on to explain that and therefore we must say, even since the mating of malachim is only from an external level, it's not the idea of traveling. That's the inner level, top of page Yud Gimel. Therefore, the union of neshamas, which comes from the level of pnimius, is of a totally different variety. Ad Kal Shayna, up till here's the quote that it's said. So let's elaborate on it. The Rebbe is going to elaborate now what we just now learned from the Tzemach Tzedek. But the idea behind this is the luli pirish harav Moshe zakuta she'inyan deishu beis with malachim. That idea of a man and his household by malachim is not just a soul and a body, which is mashpia makabel like a rabbi Talmud, but it's actually similar to a total mating. So then what we would say takes place by malachim between the masculine and feminine malachim, where it said, this is only a mating that takes place in a manner of a kiss. The Alter Rebbe and Tanya brings down that Torah study is considered like a kiss. It's similar to what a Rav transmits to a student. Though it's an idea of a mashpia and a receiver. When a Rav gives over to a student, it's not as intimate as a union between husband and wife. It's only likened to a union of a kiss, because all that's being transmitted is the intellect. Like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the breath is being exchanged between the two people that kiss. When a Rav gives over to a Talmud, you cannot bring a new being into birth. You're not birthing a person. How do you know you're not bringing something new into it? Because a student can only be if he's already coming to the table with his own mind. He says in line 11, when the student already has a mind on his head, even without the Rav's teaching, so then the Rav develops the student's mind. Until after 40 years, a student and person can reach the understanding of his teacher. But Rav is not able to affect a new being of brain and intellect completely from nothing and create something out of whole cloth. And the expression Mamar Chassidus bring about for this is that there's a Yiddish expression, a kop kem nisharufshta. Yeah, I can't put a head on someone else's shoulder. If you have a head, I can explain something to you. But if you have no head, I can't create that for you. That is only true in the relationship between a Rav and a Talmud. And that's what we could have said if is the meaning of the masculine and the feminine in the Malachim, that it's like a relationship between a Rav and a Talmud, but it's not giving birth. And if it's not giving birth, so it's then it's still understood why it's only. It's not like birth. That comes about through a physical bodily mating, not just the union of a kiss. That's how we would have said if not for the Ramaz's Pirish on the Zohar. Even according to what Ramesh Zakuta says, that in Malach there is also a true union, like there is a union and a mating of a man and a woman. We're forced to say that even in a physical, intimate union like a husband and wife, there's a difference in external and an internal union. And because the malachim are only from an external union, they are called oimdim, whereas neshamas, being that they can accomplish an internal union, that's why they are called mahalchim, as we will explain further in the next year.